listening to the Post-Apocalyptic Media Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the 65th episode of the Post-Apocalyptic Media Podcast. I'm your host, Shawn. I'm the senior editor here at Post-Apocalyptic Media. And today, once again, I'm joined by Tina. How are you doing, Tina?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. Yeah, this is it's a treat. We get together like once a month probably and get to talk about the news and everything.
It's the highlight of my month.
Another reason I wanted to get you on too is because you've been doing a lot in the Snowpiercer reviews, and I have not. So I have. I haven't been watching it, so I have to get your views on that. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I guess other than Snowpiercer, is there anything else you've been up to in the genre?
Not really. So my husband likes that show Ozark, and so it's not like a show that I dislike. It's just not a show I'd watch on my own. So I was actually playing Fallout 76 while he watched the last season.
Oh, nice.
And then I went to a thrift store. We have Valley Village down here, or up here. I guess you guys are more down there. And they always have good books. And I found a really cool, first edition paperback version of Earth Abides by George Stewart, which was really cool because I only read it back in high school. So I'm like, oh, that's so neat. So yeah. I've got to get going on that. So
yeah, I noticed on your YouTube channel you recently did like a thrift store find a bunch of really cheap books. I thought that was so cool because I love doing that stuff. Yeah, I love doing that stuff because you can get that stuff for super cheap, even buy one get one free sometimes.
Yeah, all of those. I think I had 7 or 8 books. They were $12 for all of them. Yeah, and that's $12 Canadian, which is even cheaper.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. We have a local bookstore that just opened up by us. I live in the middle of nowhere, so this is a big deal to us. And so we have this little paperback exchange kind of bookstore that opened up, and I love it. I go in there and just find this old stuff that nobody looks for because we're in the middle of nowhere. So there's stuff that nobody around here reads. So I'm like, yes.
I love that. I always look for the weirdest stuff I can find, just odd things. And there's one called the Book Barn where I usually vacation every year on Lake Huron, and it's just a massive barn that's been converted into a bookstore, and I'm in there for forever. I have to make a trip out by myself to it because my family won't come with me. It's too long and boring for them. But it's me. I'm like, oh, my favorite place in the world.
That's awesome. That's cool. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get into the news. Now, after the news, another reason we got together on this podcast is we're going to talk about an audio. They call it an audio book, but it's basically like an audio drama called Impact Winter, and we're going to talk about that. But first, let's do the news. And this first little bit here I wanted to talk about was the Doomsday Clock. Now, the Doomsday Clock is basically a clock, a representative clock of when the end of the world is supposed to happen. In January they reevaluate it every year. And in this last January, just 2 months ago, they set it to 100 minutes until midnight. Now, midnight, of course, is when the end of the world is supposed to happen. This is it's 100 minutes or 100 seconds? No, it's 100 seconds. Yeah, that's a big deal. That's a big difference.
I was like, I think it's shorter.
Yeah, 100 seconds.
I was trying to do the math in my head. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah. 100 seconds. Yeah, that's a big difference. So 100 seconds until midnight, which is supposed to be, kind of a representation of the end of the world is really close. This is the closest it's ever been, to what they think based on, current events and things that are happening in the world. And this was even before Russia invaded Ukraine. So now we're to the point where they're kind of speaking up about this. People are saying, well, shouldn't it move closer now that this is happening? Well, they're saying, well, we kind of predicted this. We kind of said back in January this is going to happen. Things were pointing toward it, and it was getting closer and closer. And so they're saying, well, this is just kind of coming true, these things we were saying about the end of the world. I personally think it should be going a little closer because they're literally talking about nuclear weapons now, which is crazy. I don't know. Isn't that scary stuff? Does it seem like some scary stuff?
Oh yeah, for sure. I remember studying the Doomsday Clock in school. I can't remember if it was high school or university, but it was like such like a it was the 50s, right? Like a 1950s kind of like metaphor that it's so, I don't know, it's so weird, but it's also so scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like to visualize it like that, like how close compared to like, I'm doing a hand gesture that you can't see, but sorry.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like Stephanie wrote up this article and she pointed out some of the times in history when it's gotten closer and closer. And like in 91, they moved it to 17 minutes before. Now remember, we're at 100 seconds before midnight. And so in 91, they moved up to 17 minutes till midnight because of the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. So they kind of moved it back, like it was a little safer. And then in 2018, it went to 2.5 minutes to midnight, from 2.5 minutes to 2 minutes, which is the closest it had ever been since 1953. And here we are at 100 seconds to midnight. I mean, I
wonder, because like so much of like the literature and the movies and stuff from like the 80s and the 70s is based on like the threat of nuclear war. It was such a pervasive concept, but it almost seems like normal for us to like grow up with that kind of idea. Like I wonder if like my grandma's like 92. I wonder if she's like really scared right now because she grew up, she lived through all of it. Or me, I'm just like, oh, we've always had this kind of hanging over our heads. Maybe that's why people aren't as reacting to it, because they're like, oh, well, we're always going to blow each other up.
Yeah, I hate that I kind of do feel that way. I grew up in the 80s and everything, Russia was always the bad guy in the 80s and it was always Russia this. And when you're little, you're like, oh no, I'm the Russians, I'm attacking you, like that's how you played. And now it's like back, and it's really weird. I don't know. It's
so strange,
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into some fiction. Let's get away from that nonfiction, get into some fiction. There's a trailer that dropped yesterday for a new miniseries on HBO Max called DMZ. DMZ stands for Demilitarized Zone, and this little miniseries is supposed to be about like Manhattan Island. There's a civil war. The second civil war happens in America, and the Manhattan Island is completely destroyed, but they walled it off and they made it into like a demilitarized zone, the DMZ. And Rosario Dawson's character, whose name is Alma, she has to go find her son who's in this zone. And so the whole thing is, she has to go find her son, but then it becomes much more than that, I guess, where she's kind of getting into the politics of the people there and why they're there and like saving them, It seems pretty interesting. I mean, it has a pretty big cast, an all-star cast. It has Benjamin Bratt, who's in like, what was he in, like CSI or one of those law shows. I forgot which one.
I can't remember.
Like Law and Order, maybe it was Law and Order. I don't know. But yeah, so it has a good cast. It has a great, kind of a good story. It looks great. That the trailer itself looks great. What did you think of it? Did you watch the trailer?
I did watch the trailer, and the trailer looked beautiful. At first I was like, okay, and then there's a shot where she walks into like the city, and I was like, okay, that's gorgeous. Yeah. like terrible, but gorgeous.
yeah. Gorgeous in a terrible way.
Yeah, and I love her. I'll watch anything she's in. So I'm totally down to watch this if I can get a hold of a HBO Max subscription. Maybe I'll finally do a trial.
Yeah, I think it'd be worth it. I mean, you could get all the other, the Raised by Wolves and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, catch up.
Yeah, great stuff. So that actually comes out on 17th of this month. Yeah, that's like next Thursday.
Oh, so that's quick.
Yeah, usually they announce these things and take a while, Yeah,
I assumed it would be like in the summer or something, but that's cool.
Yeah. Also, okay, so the next little bit here we have is I want you to talk about Snowpiercer because like I said, I haven't been watching it this season. I watched it all the rest, but this season I just don't like I know in Canada, don't you get it on Netflix, but you get it like a day late?
Yeah, we get it on Tuesday night.
Yeah, and
that's why my reviews always go up on Wednesday morning. It's not because I'm lazy; it's because I can't watch it any earlier.
Here in America, though, we don't get it in any streaming service. We'd have to pay for it extra on Amazon Prime, And that's what I've always done. I've always bought it like separately. But this year I'm like, I'm just going to not do it this year. I'll just read Tina's reviews. That's what I'll do.
My reviews that are just full of like jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I really loved the first season, obviously, because it was so dark and gritty, and I loved the class politics of it, that whole thing. And it was had more action in it in terms of like physical fighting. Where this season was a bit kind of, here comes the pun, it was a bit off the rails at times. Like the second episode was kind of like, it felt like a middle episode. I think we talked about that last time.
Yeah.
And then the one from last night, I'll just do one. It's not really a spoiler. It's kind of like a dream sequence episode. And at first I was like, what is this? But then as the episode kind of progressed, about 10 minutes in, I was like, actually, I really love this. It's really fun. Because it kind of is like an alternate version of Snowpiercer where everything's tropical and like people have different roles and personalities in that version of Snowpiercer, and there's a reason for it too. It's not just some random thing. It's like an extended metaphor of something that Leighton's going through. But I really liked that, and the ending of it is great because it takes something that's happening in this season that I was not particularly fond of and kind of tears it down. And I was like, oh, good. Okay. Because I'm trying not to do spoilers. It's so hard because, like, it is a quite intricate show for a show about just a train.
Yeah, I do like how they did that. Like, like you said, when you start watching it, you're like, how long can they go on about this show about a train? Because they made a movie out of it, and that, that was a movie. But they've found a way. They broke up the train. They, the people are separate classes, completely separate trains. So, I mean, I think that's really cool how they do that.
I really like the characters too. Like they all have their own, like they're just interesting enough, and that no one gets to be late, and sometimes to me gets a bit dramatic. But I think everyone else is kind of sticks to their roles, and I liked kind of the dynamics between them. I really liked all the female characters. Like I'm really big about that in post-apocalyptic shows, that there's a lot of female characters, and I really like all of them. And I like the male characters too. They're all good. And I mean, Shawn Bean, he's great.
Yeah. I always liked Ruth. I always thought Ruth's character was great. I don't know where she's at in this. I kind of don't want to know.
Ruth has an interesting subplot this season that I was totally on board for.
Okay, good. Because I was always a Ruth fan, so that's cool.
Yeah. She's still kicking around.
Cool.
I really like the Alex trajectory. She's not in it a lot this season, but like Wilfred's or Melanie's daughter. I like kind of what they're doing with her, kind of making her grow up a bit and everything.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so let's go on to some Walking Dead stuff. Now, this is the one that I do pay attention to because I do write the reviews for this one. And but there's been actually a lot of Walking Dead news this week. So we have, first of all, I'll kind of go in order from the smallest to biggest, I guess. There's the Fandemic Dead Tour in Atlanta. Now, this is it's called the Fandemic Tour, and it's been this thing that happened every year up until the pandemic, where basically, celebrities get together and you can go there and you can get autograph sessions and photographs with them and things like that. Well,
was it called Fandemic before the pandemic?
Yeah, it was actually. And that's the funny thing. So they had the Fandemic, but the ironic thing is they stopped it during the pandemic. They stopped doing it for 2 years. So, and it wasn't focused on Walking Dead before. It was just like all kinds of different like horror celebrities and stuff like that.
We had some of those in Toronto too.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, because I know that they do go around to different.
I've been to a couple. Fan Expo was one. I can't remember the other one's called.
There's one similar section of Dragon Con that's here in Atlanta. They have this thing called Dragon Con that's like it's a bunch of panels, but also there's a whole Walk of Fame kind of area to it where you can go in there and you can take pictures of celebrities and stuff.
Oh, that's fun.
And that stuff gets me. Like my wife she's not impressed by celebrities at all, and I'm like, that's Princess Leia, like so here's my brief Princess Leia story. So I saw her the year before she died, actually, and she was at Dragon Con. The line to take a picture of her was so long that I was like, I don't know. I'm going to go around to these other ones. Maybe I'll come back, see if the line's down. No, it got bigger. So I never got a picture with her, and that was her last year. Yeah, it kills me. But anyway, yeah, so that's the kind of thing that they had there. And that's what this reminds me of, kind of just place where celebrities, you can take pictures and all that stuff and get autographs.
Are they dressed
but
up?
This one now,
or are they just wearing regular clothes?
Yeah, there's normal people.
Okay, they're not like in costume.
No. But this one now they call it the Fandemic Dead Tour because it's all Walking Dead. Well, mostly Walking Dead people. And there's a list on their website, which is actually pretty impressive. They have like Daryl and Negan and I think Maggie. Now, nobody has Rick. Nobody ever gets Rick, which I think is funny. Like he doesn't want to go anywhere? Or he's just like too expensive. I don't know. Everybody. But could you imagine like if someone did get Rick, that would be the draw. People would go nuts over it. People love Rick. I mean, they have Daryl, so they're that's second best, I guess.
I mean, Daryl is more attractive.
I've heard that.
In my opinion.
Yeah. But they do have tons of stars that like aren't even on the show anymore. And they're all coming, and then there's a couple other celebrities. They actually have, what's that guy's name? Ash from...
Bruce Campbell. I saw that and I was like, oh my God, I love Bruce Campbell. I am a huge Bruce Campbell fan. I actually have his biography.
Oh, nice.
I have never read it, though. It's called If Chins Could Kill. And that's why I bought it, because it's hilarious. But I haven't read it. I'll admit.
That's funny. Yeah, he's going to be there, too. But this is going to be in Atlanta. And where they film Walking Dead and all that. So, and speaking of that, you know what I need to do? Well, have you watched The Walking Dead, like the last couple seasons?
No, because I wait for it to go on Netflix. So I'm like way behind. But I know kind of what's happening because people talk about it, and I'm just like, it's fine.
Okay, cool. Okay, so they have this area called Alexandria. Yeah. And Alexandria is filmed only about an hour from where I live right now. And I keep thinking I want to go there and just visit this area because it's open to the public. You can go in there and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
And then I heard that they're going to tear it down because they're done with the show. And I'm like, oh, I need to go there. But I think they already tore it down. I'm not sure.
Aw, you go look at the ruins.
Yeah. That might even be more cool, yeah.
I almost went to Atlanta in did I get married? 2014. So it was my honeymoon. We did like a drive from where I am in Ontario down like the East Coast and back up. And we were going to go to Atlanta, but it was during that massive snowstorm back then where Atlanta basically like closed down because no one can drive in the snow.
Yeah.
Down there. So we had a Jeep and we're from Canada. So we were like, these roads are nothing. What do you guys, what's wrong with you guys? Yeah. But we were like, there's no way we're going to get in that gridlock going into the city. We'll just not go. It's too bad because I was like, oh, that would have been so cool.
Yeah, it's like that on a sunny day too. So it's
really? Okay. Yeah, but I was just like, oh.
Yeah, I'm from Chicago originally, and so I moved down here, and when I see people just flip out, I mean, when it rains too hard, they call off
school. It's like an inch of snow, and I'm like, that's like my house all the time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're from Chicago, you get the lake effect too.
Oh yeah. So I mean, it's kind of funny when they call everything off for an inch of snow, but
yeah.
Oh well. All right, so yeah, that's the Fandemic Dead Tour. And then we also have news about there's a new show announced, a new spin-off called Isle of the Dead. And this is kind of controversial. A lot of people are flipping out about this because it has Negan and Maggie in it.
When I read that, I was like, what? Because I obviously got to the part with Negan, and I was like, how in the world could that ever happen? Because I know I would not put up with that.
Yeah.
If I was Maggie.
I think a lot of people... Now, this is the thing, and I think this is the funny part about it. It's a lot of people are kind of in your boat where they stopped watching, a lot of people stopped right after Negan.
I got through another season after that. Okay,
so you were like 8, I think that was.
Yeah, after, I got to a sad part.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know kind of how they're almost reconciled. I mean, I don't know. They're kind of like tolerate each other at this point.
I figured something must have happened to allow this, like...
Yeah. It's weird, though, to even still think of them.
How do you forgive that, though?
I know. It's crazy. So then when people announce this, people are like, wait a minute, they're romantically involved? And it's like, no,
romantically involved?
Yeah, that's not what they said at all, but people are jumping to that conclusion, which is funny.
Because that would just be weird.
Yeah, and people are like, wait, why are they together? And it's like, no, that's not what it is at all.
Say, okay, then I'm definitely against it if it's that, because that just seems deranged. But
yeah, that's a whole...
But if they have to work together, then okay.
Yeah, supposedly they're supposed to be in New York City. I don't know how they got to New York City, but they're in New York City, and they're basically doing the same stuff that they're doing now, but they're
just like, we need a new location.
Yeah. So that's why, I mean, I guess that's why they call it Isle of the Dead. Maybe it's like Manhattan or something like that. But yeah, it's pretty crazy news. And I can't wait to hear more about it because it's such an intriguing plot.
I would probably actually just watch that just because I'm curious as to how the dynamic would function.
Exactly. I think that's their draw right there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Oh, and then I have my review and recap of Season 11, Episode 12 up on the site. Again, I won't do spoilers, but this is the second part. Like, they're doing 3 parts of Season 11 and, like, chunks of episodes. And so this is the second big chunk of episodes. The third chunk, I think, is supposed to be at the end of the year into next year. So they're really drawing this out.
This is the final season?
Yeah, this is the final season. They're not, I don't think they're quite halfway through yet. I think I don't know how many episodes they're doing total, but yeah, I don't think they're about halfway through. But I really like, I like where it's going. Again, no spoilers, but what it does is it'll have like a really action-packed episode and then an episode kind of explaining everything that happened, With
lots of talking.
Yeah, lots of talking, lots of
I remember that from when I used to watch, like the last time I watched it, I was like, okay, it's a talking episode.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a loose end episode where they explain what happened and then at the end of that one there's this crazy cliffhanger and then action next episode and they go back and like kind of rest and explain. Yeah. So there's a lot of ups and downs. I don't know. I like it still. I don't like it as much as I did, early on, of course. I don't think anybody does, but I think it's still, I have to see it through. I have to see it all the way through to the end of this season, just see what happens. But
I'll read your reviews.
Yeah.
It'll prepare me for this Negan and Maggie one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know if anything can, but yeah, that's.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all of our news. Let's go ahead and get into this audio drama called Impact Winter. Now, I'll give a really brief kind of synopsis of what this is. This is an audio drama that's on Audible. It's free on Audible if you're a Audible subscriber, which isn't really free, but so
that's how I got it.
yeah, me too. And so, I don't know. I went into it thinking that it was going to be a post-apocalyptic story. It's supposed to be about a comet that hits Earth several years before all of this, and it kind of darkens the sky, and humans go underground to escape the atmosphere, and then the people who are left on the surface are basically turned into vampires. And so this story picks up where the people are kind of coming up and confronting these vampires, I guess. For me, I mean, this is kind of my basic, idea of how this went is I think it was a lot less post-apocalyptic than I thought it would be, and it was way more of a vampire story. It was
100% agree.
Yeah, it was like an Anne Rice book almost, and that's not to say it was bad. It just wasn't what I expected. And not only that, I was expecting an audiobook with narration, and it was more of an audio drama with sound effects and again, not complaining because it was incredible. Like, the acting is incredible, the sound effects are incredible, the sound design is incredible. What did you think about it?
Same, pretty much the same. I liked the I'm trying to say. So I liked the voice acting was fantastic. I liked that it was very easy to follow, even though there was no narrative description of anything. But I also missed that narrative description because I was like, it did, as you said, it's not really an audiobook. It's like a radio drama.
Yeah.
And so if I had been more prepared for that, I think I would have been, it's not like I was disappointed, but I was just like, okay, I didn't feel like I really read a book though. I felt like I've watched a movie without the visuals.
Exactly.
And which is it wasn't I did enjoy it, I liked it. It was short too. It was 5 hours. But I kind of wish this was a movie, because then we would have been able to see all the post-apocalyptic stuff in the background. Yeah. And a book would have given us that kind of description, what the castle looked like, how many people were there, that kind of thing, because I didn't really understand a lot of how that worked because we didn't really see it.
I completely agree.
I did enjoy it though. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, at one point I did come to the realization that this is like I'm watching a movie where I'm in the other room and I'm not watching the screen, and it's just like there's stuff going on, there's sound effects, there's things, happening, and if definitely something that you want to wear headphones for, because you hear the really cool like kind of panning effects with the different sound effects. And then, yeah, like you said, the narration, the lack of narration did bother me a little bit because I was lost on who was talking a lot. There were people talking and this person, and there were a lot of female characters, so there was a lot of mix up with that, to me at least. And I would say like, wait, which person is this talking? And I think with the narration, you would have, that would have been explained a little bit better. But again, I loved it. I really liked it. I thought it was a really cool idea. Again, not really post-apocalyptic it is technically, but it's a straight vampire story, which I usually don't get into that much. I mean, I read the Anne Rice books a long time ago, but I think if they would have prepared, more of that and made it more about, like, advertised it as kind of your classic vampire story with a twist, then that it probably would draw in more fans of that. That's what I think.
It reminded me a lot of 30 Days of Night, that movie from
I never saw
a while ago with Josh Hartnett. Have you ever seen that?
No, I never saw that.
So it's set in I think it's in Alaska or somewhere really up north where they have like 30 days of night in the winter because the sun doesn't come over the horizon. And so these vampires go to this town to feed on the town because it's nighttime all the time, so they don't have the restrictions of daylight. So it's Josh Hartnett and some other people trying to like hide out in this town as like everyone else is being killed by vampires. It's actually a really fun movie. I really like it. I haven't watched it in years. I think it came out like at least 10 or 15 years ago. But I recommend it if you like vampires. And it's it's a movie, so it's short.
Yeah.
But this really reminded me of that, mainly because it was cold and there were vampires.
Yeah. I loved the voice actors were great. They had two actors actually from Game of Thrones, which I'm a huge fan of. They had the guy who played, what was it, Davos Seaworth, I think his name is. And every time he talked, I would just picture him in his like.
He's the guy that kind of sounds like Liam Neeson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I always pictured him like in Game of Thrones. And then they had the girl who played Whisper was Bella Ramsey, who played Lyanna Mormont in Game of Thrones. She was. Did you watch Game of Thrones?
I watched the first season.
Oh, okay.
I read the books like a lot as a teenager, and his show was fine, but okay. So my husband, he's not into like high fantasy, so I can't convince him to watch anything like that, and so I just like could watch it on my own, but I was behind the cultural milieu of it, and I'm not going to bother now. You get all fancy about it.
Yeah.
But she had a really distinctive voice. That woman.
Yeah, Whisper.
Whisper.
She's actually going to be. She's going to play Ellie in the Last of Us series. So it's the same girl. And
it's Mandalorian guy. That's the father, right?
Yeah. And that. Yeah. Pedro Pascal.
Yes, thank you. I'm like, it's Pascal.
Yeah.
I can't remember any names. I'm terrible.
So yeah, I thought that was cool because it kind of gave me a little bit of a visual, to picture them at least, because I know what they look like. But
I couldn't picture anybody.
Yeah, but I mean,
I'm like, how old are these people? I know Hope is like a teenager, but I'm like, I don't know how old Darcy is.
yeah. It's kind of she seemed a little older.
I really wanted. There was like that scene with Rook and Darcy, and I was like, I really wish this had been in a book because it could have really drawn out that tension because it kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I was not against it, but I was kind of like, I wish it built it up a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, that's a good point.
But no, I definitely enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I'll listen to. Apparently, it's part one of a few of them.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
At the end.
I didn't know. Yeah, originally I heard that it was the entire thing, and then it was broken up into episodes. So I thought that's what they were talking about with it being broken up. So then I finish it, and I'm like, oh wait, I think that's not it. It's going to keep going. So
yeah, I was like, oh, it's done. And then they had a thing at the end saying, oh, if you enjoyed this part one, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and that explains why it was only 5 hours, I guess, too.
Yeah, which was nice actually to kind of because. I'm listening to one right now, and it was originally like 16 hours, and I'm like, ugh. So I'm like, 1.75 speed.
Yeah.
There we go, 9 hours. That's better.
I do that too. I do that with YouTube videos, yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, I recently downloaded, there was this entire book set, this post-apocalyptic, I forgot what it's called. and it was like free, or no, I think I used an Audible point for it. And so I'm like, well, that's a good deal. And then it was like 48 hours. And I'm like, I don't know.
You got 2 whole days.
Yeah. It'll take me like 2 years to listen to it.
Yeah, and I don't have a commute anymore. I used to drive to, into the city, and it took me about 3 hours, total a day.
Oh, wow.
And so I really wish when back then I'd had Audible, because I would have gotten through so many audiobooks. But now it's like when I walk the dog, when I clean the house.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I'll listen to it in the evening, but usually not.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, I think overall, we pretty much agree on, it was great. It just had, a couple little things like the narration and the I don't know. It just being all about vampires instead of, Mad Max.
It made me wonder if that's what radio drama was like in the 40s and 50s, when you'd tune in every week, because obviously that's far beyond my time, but maybe it was like that.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, actually, I used to listen to those when iTunes first came out. They had a channel for old timey radio dramas, and I used to listen to those. Yeah, it was like the originals, from back then.
Oh, I bet you could find some of those on YouTube and stuff. Probably.
Oh yeah.
I would totally check that out.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff. All right, let's see. I think that's probably about it for everything we had going. I did want to talk about some of the stuff we have on the site in addition to what we talked about, because there's so much, there's so much more out there. We have more reviews. There's lots of stuff about Attack on Titan. Stephanie's doing tons of that kind of stuff. So if you're an Attack on Titan fan, check that out. I do a Kickstarter project article every month, and I just did one for March, which kind of explained the top 10 post-apocalyptic indie Kickstarter projects for that month. And these are just post-apocalyptic. They're just on Kickstarter. And the only reason I do that is because the other ones like Indiegogo, they don't really have a set date when it starts and ends. The projects, the campaigns kind of go on forever. So this is Kickstarter, I think, does a better job of keeping things per month. Anyway, last episode, I actually talked to Tim Watts. I did the interview with him about his upcoming Kickstarter campaign for his graphic novel called The Republic. And that thing got funded in 2 days.
Wow.
So he was able to get, so I was really excited to see that, because we interviewed him, of course, before before that went live. And it was cool to see. He was so excited about it. And in 2 days, he got his money for it. So then now he's going into stretch goals. So he's offering more than just the comic. And I think they reached the first stretch goal, and they're going to keep going from there. So that's good news. But yeah, I have that article up all about that. A couple other little news articles here and there. I did an article about the Batmobile. Now this is not, people might see that and say, what is that doing on the site? But the Batmobile in the new Batman movie, The Batman, is super post-apocalyptic looking. It looks like an old Mad Max, something that would be in Mad Max. So I saw that and I said, I have to write an article about that. So
did
that was
you watch
fun.
the movie?
No, I saw parts of it. I saw, actually I saw most of it on YouTube.
Oh yeah. To look, because you were looking at the car.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that was, I just saw that and I'm like, I have to write something about that. It looks cool.
That does sound cool. I'll probably watch it when it comes out on streaming.
Yeah.
There's just so much Batman, and I'm like, Batmaned out.
Yeah, I actually started doing research. I was going to write a little bit more in depth about this article, and it is crazy. Like every show, every movie has had a different iteration of the Batmobile, and all for different reasons, and I'm like, I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to...
The best one is from the 1960s.
Yeah, that's what everybody says.
The West one.
Yeah, that old 60s one with the
old classic looking one. That one's awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely cool. I mean, they've gotten kind of out of control with those lately. Last few movies, it's just been this crazy, like a tank with huge wheels, and that's why I kind of like this. It kind of went back to the muscle car feel, and I don't know. I like
kind of like the one from the Batman Returns, the Michael Keaton ones.
Yeah,
that was more of just like a car with a bunch of fins on it, I think.
Yeah, it was more like low to the ground and everything. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and then you get the ones from like the the 90s or late 90s, the like Batman Forever and all those.
Yeah, those are crazy.
Turns into a boat, turns into an airplane or something.
Yeah,
You're like, whatever.
It's a little too much, but I mean, it's Batman, so.
Exactly.
But yeah, all that stuff's on the site if you want to check out more of that. We also have all of our regular social media stuff, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all that. Also, I've been doing more streaming on Twitch. We have a Twitch channel. Every Tuesday, I try to stream something. And this yesterday I did a game called Post-Apo Builder. It's supposed to be, like post-apocalyptic, but it's Post-Apo Builder. It's basically a city builder with, in a post-apocalyptic atmosphere, environment. Very cool game. I really liked it. I had a lot of fun. Val jumped on the stream at the end, and I had a lot of fun with it at the end because it turns into this crazy thing at the end where I was trying to get all the achievements for Steam, and some of the achievements you have to get are like you have to poison the villagers. It's just like, so I'm like, well, ordinarily I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it for the achievement, and just stuff like that. I don't know. We had fun at the end there, but that's a fun game. Yeah. But that was a fun game. I plan to do more of these every Tuesday, like, maybe a different indie game every week or maybe, explore a little deeper in the same ones here and there. But it's fun. I'm having fun.
That does sound like fun. I would totally watch if I wasn't watching Snowpiercer on Tuesday nights. When it's done, I'll try to jump on.
Yeah. It's fun. But hopefully, I'm hoping that I can do it more than just Tuesdays. I think when summer comes, summer break from school, that I'll be able to do it a lot more. But yeah, right now just Tuesdays. So check that out. That's on the site. We'll have links to that in the in the show notes for today too, as well as all the other links for finding out about all the stories we've talked about and our social media and all that good stuff. So I think that's it from us. Tina, I want to thank you again for coming on. This was fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I enjoy it.
Yeah, it was great, and I thank every one of you for listening. As always, as I like to say when we sign out of this, stay alive out there and always be ready for the big one. Thanks, everyone.